Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Buer for Kentucky Derby Prep Recap. In this edition, we'll take a look back at the Smarty Jones Stakes, the first step on the Oaklawn road to the Kentucky Derby. And Mike, if you like troubled trips or mid-race moves or furious photo finishes, well, this race isn't for you, because as we break from the gate, it's a one-horse race from start to finish, dominated by the Brad Cox-trained Caddo River, the number 7.
Yep, he's going to go right to the front here. Not much to see here, Dan. He's going to wire this field easily. I guess the runner-up Cowan, who's the 3 right there down towards the inside, a little bit of traffic for him on the first turn. This is not, an ideal trip for him by any measure, especially considering he was a horse who, if he was going to try to make a race of this, he couldn't afford, even one straw in his path, and he had a few.
And you saw him be checked a little bit into the first turn when the Mahoning Valley Invader, the number 5, Hardly Swayed, was very, very eager and hard to handle going into the first turn. Hardly Swayed sort of cut off Cowan early. You had a feeling that Ricardo Santana and Cowan wanted to be where Hardly Swayed is right now.
Yeah, you would think that they would want to get forward in here. It's really the only chance they had. As it turns out, they couldn't get a position. Cowan, all things considered, Dan, he runs fine in here. This is the first time he's back on dirt in a while and his first time stretching out. He runs fine in this race. He just has no chance with this dominant winner.
Class compromised Hardly Swayed was hard to handle, as I mentioned. He's paying the price and is now freewheeling to the back of the pack, and that leaves Caddo River all alone on about a 5-length lead with a short stretch at Oaklawn Park. You're right, Cowan ran a very good race. He's never going to make a race of it. Caddo River is just going to keep extending and win by about 10, but Cowan really didn't do anything wrong. I didn't feel he was disgraced in this race. He's probably just not as good as Caddo River to begin with, and I think extra distance down the road might not be what suits him, but he's a useful horse.
Yeah, those things are all probably true. But, again, all things considered, he runs fine in this race. The early trouble obviously cost him. Not that he was going to be that much closer at the end, but he's a nice horse, Cowan is. He's obviously very good sprinting on the grass, but he showed in this race that he can handle the main track too. So now that gives Steve Asmussen options with him. As far as the winner goes, we'll see, Dan. Obviously, the waters get deeper for this horse, but he keeps improving with every race.
You're absolutely right. Not only from a buyer standpoint, you just see from a confidence standpoint, and the way he finished this race off was very, very impressive. Florent Giroux was merely a passenger in the last quarter of a mile. Caddo River sprinted on home and received a 92 buyer speed figure. He'll get a couple of months off. He'll skip the Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn. Brad Cox maintains his next start will be the Rebel in the middle of March. This is a horse that has gotten better with distance, has gotten better with experience, and as of right now, he has to be one of the contenders, I would say, the early contenders for the Kentucky Derby, because he's done nothing wrong and he's got scope for improvement.
Yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't be a horse to follow for a little while here and just see what happens. Again, obviously, it's just going to get a lot tougher for him. He didn't beat much of a field here in the Smarty Jones, but I suppose if nothing else, he did it the way that you wanted him to do it, and it came back a pretty fast race. The longer they go with this horse, it feels like the better he gets.
And we'll discuss his pedigree a little bit more in the DRF Breeding Report a little bit later this week on DRFTV. Anyone else in this race give you at least a little bit of a look that says, well, maybe when he drops in class or maybe when he turns back in distance? Big Thorn was wide, but he had a big pace to run at. Martini Blue was tested, and he sort of just ran around there.
Yeah, Martini Blue, it's just his second start right off of a maiden win. I'll look for him back at Hawthorne or something. He's probably could turn out to be an okay horse. Listen, I'm not a big fan of Big Thorns, but he didn't have a great trip in this race. That was his first start for Asmussen. He can do better.
92 buyer speed figure for Caddo River. Right now, one of the early favorites on the Oaklawn Trail to the Kentucky Derby. 92 buyer speed figure, Brad Cox, Florent Giroux, a son of Hard Spun.